What's going on, guys? Mike back again with another World of Warcraft video. And whoops, my apologies, I think I just shut my mic off. Nope, we're good. And today we're going to be going over Enhance Shaman stat priorities. I know in the last video I said I was going to combine stat priorities with our rotation and our priority list for rotation, but I figured, I'm just going to keep them short, keep them simple, and we're going to go through them pretty much one step at a time. So, again, unfortunately, there's really not going to be much fighting in this video or even the next one, since it's just talking about different stats here and what our aim for is as Enhance Shaman. Can be a little confusing. Recent patch or recent expansion changed the way stats work a little bit for us. So, let's just jump right into it. The first main stat that Enhance Shaman will be looking for is going to be Agility. Agility, which is right here, bam. It's on every piece of gear you're going to be getting. And what Agility is going to be doing is increasing our total damage and crit chance. You don't really got to worry too much about the crit, even though a healthy amount of crit for an Enhanced Shaman is nice. We're only going to be gaining crit through our Agility. You don't really want to reforge for it. You don't really want much gear that has crit on it. And if you do get gear that has crit on it, you are most likely going to be reforging crit. Unlike previous expansions or previous patches, we would reforge haste. Now we are keeping haste. But anyway, that's going to come later down the list. So stat priority number 1 is going to be Agility. Bam. Now, stat priority number 2 and 3 are going to be Hit and Expertise. Now, the way hit chance works now, instead of going for a 15% hit, I lie. Instead of going for a 15% spell hit, because as Enhance Shaman, we needed 15% spell hit in order for our lightning bolts to not miss. Instead now, hit, or that 15% is now gained or split evenly between hit and expertise. So as you can see here, you want to go for, in order to reach 15%, you need 7.5% hit and 7.5% expertise. Now, that doesn't mean the two numbers need to equal 15, so you can't get like 5% hit and 10% expertise or vice versa or any combination of that. You need 7.5% hit, in order for your special attacks not to miss. You want to get as close to this number as you can. As you can see, I'm at 7.51. 0.01% is really not a big deal. You're not really, I guess, losing anything for it. Yes, 0.01% might be a little, I don't know. Some people who like to go super theory crafters, they want 7.5% exactly. But me being at 7.51 with a mixture of, high-end gear and mid-range gear and low-end gear, I consider that to be just about perfect. However, going above, I want to say 7.55 the most, is probably not worth it. You don't gain much being over the hit percent, or the hit cap of 7.5. As you can see here at the top, we do have our target level for our normal attacks. By gaining more hit, you can reduce the chance that you're going to miss normal attacks, but 15%, whether it's 15% miss or it's whether it's 15% miss or 14.85% miss, it's not going to make a whole big of difference. Therefore, trying to cap your hit on your normal attacks is not worth it whatsoever. You're going to lose too much damage. I don't even know if it's achievable. It probably is. You need to stack complete hit gear. Not worth it. Don't worry about it. 7.5% is the magic number. Don't go above, I would say, 7.55, 7.6 the absolute most. I know some people, the way reforging goes and the way you have to gem your gear, you have to gem it different ways in order to hit that mark right on the head, or you can use programs out there like Ask Mr. Robot or stuff like that in order to help you achieve this goal. I like to do it manually. I like to put all my numbers in a spreadsheet, and I like to calculate that myself. Programs can mess up and all that other thing. That's why I like to do things on my own. But as I was saying, you want to hit 7.5% exactly, but don't go over. It's all right to be a little bit under. I'm talking, 7.45. I would rather take 7.45 than 7.55 or 7.6 because your stats then aren't going to waste. Having your stats go to waste is probably the worst thing that can happen for any class, especially as a DPS, because you are going to lose damage and overall you know, you don't want to lose damage as DPS class. That's what you're doing. So 7.5% on the nose or a tiny bit under is where I would say to go with that. As for your expertise, it's going to be exactly the same thing, 7.5%. Now, as you can see here, I'm at 7.55%. The problem with this is I can't really get any closer to 7.5 without going under. And to be honest, I'm not a person who likes to go under because I'd rather be a little bit over than be a little bit under. Just because, you know, even if you have 0.1% chance to miss or, you know, 0.2% chance to miss, one miss on a crucial spell can be a big DPS loss. Especially if you get, you know, you're on a roll of unlucky streaks. You can kind of just start killing yourself when it comes to DPS, and that's not what we want to see. So I like to go a little bit over for expertise if it's needed, or possibly a little bit over for hit. Even though it's not recommended, it's just something I would much rather be capped than be a little bit under. Now, the big thing with expertise here is being at 7.5% will give you a 100% chance that your attacks will not be dodged, so no dodging. Parry, however, your attacks will only be parried from behind, from when you're facing your target in front. So this is, what is that, the fourth boss in Moshogan Vaults? Was that Spirit Kings or something like that? I don't actually remember. Or Ancestor or something. I don't know, the fourth boss wherever, where the boss, you have to stand in front of him and hit him. Your attacks can get parried that way. You don't want to go for a hard cap of 15% expertise. It's really not worth it. Again, just like hit, 7.5 is where you want to be. However, being a little bit over just means that your attacks, you know, when doing those frontal hits, have a less chance of being parried, which is a good thing. You know, 93, again, the difference between 7.5% parry chance and 7.45% is very minor. But I feel like if I'm going to go over on either of the stats, it's going to be expertise rather than hit, just because then your stats really aren't going to waste. Even though it can be said that your white attacks are going to be buffed a little bit, but 15% chance to miss, 15% chance to miss. I would much rather take a 15% chance. I'd much rather lower an 8% or a 7% chance to get parried rather than a 15% chance to miss. It's more logical in my mind, but that is what you're looking for: 7.5% hit and 7.5% expertise. That'll total your 15% hit, which will also account towards your spell hit. As you can see here, it already adds it, and I'm at 15.06% spell hit. So that's what we're looking for. So right now, first priority in stats is agility. Second and third is going to be hit and expertise, respectively. Now, our fourth stat here is going to be mastery as well as haste. Now, I know for those of you who know shamans or know Enhance Shamans from, you know, previous patches and previous expansions, haste was the bane of Enhance Shamans. Nobody liked it. If haste was on gear, the first thing you did was reforge it because it was a complete waste to you, and now it just, you know, everyone would reforge haste, and that would pretty much be that. But now the reason haste is actually good is because we got a buff to our flurry passive. Now what this does is after dealing a melee critical strike, your attack speed is increased by 15%, and you gain 50% additional benefit from haste granted by items. This lasts 15 seconds or until 5 melee attacks have occurred. I'm not sure the internal cooldown, if there even is an internal cooldown on this. I don't really ever pay attention to it if it's up 100% of the time or not. But since it gains a 50% buff to our haste stats, this is why haste has been a DPS increase for us when flurry is active. Now, the reason I say mastery and haste are pretty much equal on your priority stat list is because tests have shown that mastery and haste, no matter which one you go with, you're going to yield pretty much the same DPS, even though mastery will just barely beat haste, which is why I say mastery first rather than haste. But the general rule of thumb here, when it comes to reforging at least, it's going to be any piece of gear that has mastery on it, and let's say crit, for instance, after you're capped and everything, you're going to reforge the crit into haste. For any piece of gear that has haste on it and another stat, you're going to reforge that other stat, which is going to be most likely be crit, into mastery. So any piece of gear that has haste, you're going to be looking to reforge for mastery, and any piece of gear that has mastery, you're going to be looking to reforge haste. That is generally how it's going to work. At lower end gear, it's going to be a lot harder to do that because you are looking to get hit capped and you are looking to get expertise capped. As you can see here on my gear, I have some hit even reforging to expertise because I'm way over hit cap. So you hit into expertise. This is haste into expertise. I didn't want to do it, but I had no choice. I had to reforge the haste in order to gain my expertise. Hit into expertise. This one, I actually need to reforge. I did not reforge. That's a mistake on my part. Now, this piece has crit and expertise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reforge the crit into mastery. Just because mastery, you're going to get... It's more beneficial to go for mastery first because it is a slighter DPS increase over haste. This is hit into expertise. This is expertise into haste because this piece already has mastery on it. This is hit into haste because it has mastery on it. Hit into expertise, yada yada. You get where I'm going with that. This weapon here, this is haste and mastery. That's beautiful. And this one is crit into mastery since it has haste already on it. So that is pretty much our stat priority list. Oh, and last but not least is going to be crit. The main thing with crit is if you have crit on your gear, the first thing you're going to be doing is reforging that into either mastery or haste or hit or expertise, whichever stat you need. But that is pretty much the rule of thumb. Crit gets reforged immediately, just as haste did in previous expansions. So just to recap everything, first stat is going to be agility. Next stat is going to be hit and expertise. And the last stats are going to be mastery and haste. Those are our stat priority lists, and that is how we are going to be working them and how you are going to be reforging your gear in order to meet all those criterias. I guess it'll talk good about to go into gems as well a little bit, just to know what to gem for and when to gem. Anything with a socket bonus of agility, you're going to be going for that socket bonus. It's worth it in every single way because agility is our main stat, so gemming for it is what we're going to be looking to do. As you can see here, and also for our meta, we're going to be going with the Agile Primal Diamond. This gives 216 agility and 3% increased critical effect. Huge DPS increase, you need to get that. So any set piece that has agility on it, you're pretty much going to be gemming for that, unless you need, I guess, a certain gem in your gear in order to hit a cap or something, or to hit cap and expertise cap. But rule of thumb, if it has a socket bonus of agility, you go for it. If it doesn't have a socket bonus of agility, you're most likely not going to be going for it. But I believe just about everything has a socket bonus for agility on your gear, so you shouldn't really have to worry about it too much. Other gemming rules is going to be, if you can fit an agility gem in your socket, your red socket, that's where it's going to go. Mastery otherwise, and that's, I believe, just about it. So final recap, we have agility first stat, second and third is going to be hit expertise, and fourth and fifth, or fifth and fourth, however you want to say it, is going to be mastery and haste. So that pretty much covers it. Probably a little bit longer video than I could have made it. I could have just told you exactly what it was without going into some detail about why our stats are where they are. But I figured I'd explain it for those of you who either have some questions or were a little bit concerned as to, why are we getting haste now? Why aren't we getting crit? Or why isn't haste being instantly reforged? It's because haste is very beneficial to Enhance at the moment. I believe it's going to stay like that unless they nerf Flurry, which I really don't see happening because it puts Enhance Shaman back on the mark. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. In our next video, I'm going to be going over the standard rotation and priority list on our abilities, which it's a little complicated since it's very proc-based, but hopefully I'll be able to explain it as easy and painlessly as possible. So thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, Mike out.